Why your mind is burning, but you don't see it. Buddhist wisdom. There's something happening right now that you can't see. Not with your eyes, anyway. It's not somewhere far away. It's right here, in your mind. And the strange thing is, most of us go our whole lives without ever noticing it. Think about this moment. Right now, as you're listening, what's moving inside you? Maybe there's curiosity. Maybe a little resistance. Maybe you're already planning what comes next. Whatever it is, something's always in motion. The mind is never still. It's always reaching, pulling back, judging, comparing, wanting things to be different than they are. Over 2,600 years ago, on 𝐿𝐴𝐴 hill near Gaya, the Buddha stood before 1,000 monks. These weren't ordinary students. They were former fire worshippers, ascetics who had spent years performing sacred rituals around flames, believing fire was the path to spiritual freedom. They knew everything about tending fires, making offerings, keeping the sacred flame alive. And the Buddha was about to show them something they'd never seen before. He didn't talk about heaven or hell. He didn't talk about gods or demons. He looked at them and said something simple, direct, and absolutely unsettling. Everything is burning. These men knew fire. They devoted their lives to it. But what the Buddha was pointing to was a different kind of flame altogether. One they'd been carrying inside themselves without ever seeing it. So what did he mean? What was he seeing that 1,000 experienced practitioners, and most of us today, completely miss? And why does this ancient teaching matter for your life right now, in this moment? Because the heat he was talking about isn't somewhere else. It's right here. The question is, are we willing to look? The Buddha was extremely precise in this teaching. He didn't speak in abstractions. He said, "The eye is burning, forms are burning, eye consciousness is burning. The ear is burning, sounds are burning, the nose, tongue, body, mind, all burning." He was pointing to something specific, the 6 sense doors. Every way we experience the world, through sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. And he said that at every one of these doorways, something is happening that we don't see. Let me show you what this looks like in your actual life. You're scrolling through your phone, and an image appears. A friend on vacation. Perfect beach. Golden sunset. Everything looks effortless and beautiful. And in that instant, faster than thought, something moves inside you. Maybe it's a tightening in your chest. Maybe it's that familiar voice, "I wish that was me." Maybe it's just this vague sense that your life isn't quite enough. Or the opposite happens. You see something unjust, someone being treated unfairly, news about suffering. And immediately, there's heat, anger rising, that clenched feeling, the sense that this is wrong and must be stopped. What just happened? Your eye met an image. Consciousness arose to know it. And right there, before you could even think about it, something started consuming you. The wanting, the not wanting, the comparing, the judging, the grasping at what's pleasant, the pushing away of what's unpleasant. The Buddha called this moment phassa, contact. It's happening thousands of times every day. Every time you see, hear, taste, touch, or think, there's a moment of contact. And if there's no awareness in that moment, something gets triggered. An automatic response, a compulsion, a drivenness. He identified what's consuming us at these moments. First, there's craving. That forward-leaning energy when we want more, want to keep something, want a pleasant feeling to last. Second, there's aversion. That pushing away when we want something unpleasant to stop, when we resist what is. And third, perhaps the subtlest, there's delusion. We don't see things as they actually are. We're looking through layers of belief, assumption, stories about who we are and what we need. Here's what's interesting. Modern neuroscience is discovering what the Buddha saw millennia ago. Research shows that our brain responds to stimuli before we're consciously aware of anything happening. Neural pathways fire automatically. Emotional responses get triggered. Behavior patterns activate. All before the conscious, reflective part of our mind knows what's going on. But we don't call this being consumed. We call it living. We call it feeling deeply or caring passionately. And in some ways that's true. But what the Buddha was pointing to is subtler. There's a difference between experiencing something and being driven by it. Between feeling and being overtaken. Between engagement and exhaustion. And here's the paradox that most of us live with. If there was a real flame touching your skin right now, you'd pull away instantly. No hesitation. The pain would be immediate and unbearable. But the heat in the mind? We not only don't pull away, we often move closer. We feed it. We sometimes even think that without this intensity, we wouldn't really be alive. Because somewhere along the way, many of us came to believe that strong feelings prove we're living fully. That desire means we're passionate. That anger means we care. That anxiety means we're responsible. And we're afraid that without these familiar sensations, we'd become numb, empty, disconnected from life. This is what the Buddha called normal life. This is the world we're all swimming in. And we don't see it because we're right in the middle of it. So if this is happening constantly, if we're being driven by these forces thousands of times a day, why can't we see it? Imagine a fish living in water. Water surrounds it. It breathes and moves through water every moment. But because its presence is so constant and all-encompassing, the water has become completely invisible to it. That's us with these patterns in the mind. They're so familiar, so woven into every moment of experience, that they've become the background. We don't see the wanting because we've been reaching for things since we were babies. We don't see the resistance because saying no to discomfort feels like protecting ourselves. And we don't see the delusion because, by its very nature, it makes us think we're seeing clearly. In other words, we've trained ourselves into these patterns, not deliberately, not consciously, but through repetition, through habit. These grooves have been carved deep into our minds. And now our thoughts and feelings just flow down these channels automatically, without any conscious choice. But among these three patterns, the Buddha said delusion is perhaps the most dangerous. Why? Because at least with craving and aversion, when they're strong, we can feel them. When you really want something, there's a recognizable pull. When you're angry, there's heat you can sense. But delusion? It operates invisibly. It's the lens through which we see everything. And because we're always looking through it, we never actually see the lens itself. The philosopher Plato had a powerful image for this: the allegory of the cave. People chained from birth, facing a wall, seeing only shadows cast by a fire behind them. The shadows are all they've ever known, so they think that's reality. They have no idea there's a whole world of substance behind them. The Buddha pointed to something similar with what he called avijja, often translated as ignorance, but it's more accurate to say not knowing or misseeing. It's not that we lack information. It's that we fundamentally misunderstand something about reality. We think there's a solid, permanent self that needs constant defending and satisfying. We think there are things that belong to us that we can hold on to forever. We think happiness is something outside us, waiting in the future, in the right circumstances. And because we see things this way, through this lens of misunderstanding, we keep adding fuel to these patterns every single day. We see someone who has what we want, and immediately there's that familiar ache. If only I had that, then I'd be okay. More fuel. We experience something difficult, and the mind says, this shouldn't be happening. More resistance. More heat. We make plans for the future, convinced that when we get there, everything will finally settle. More drivenness. More exhaustion. The irony is profound. We're being consumed, but we think we're just living normally. We're exhausted, but we think that's what it means to care. We're trapped in patterns, but we think we're making free choices. But here's what changes everything. Just because we can't see it now, doesn't mean we never will. The Buddha stood in front of 1,000 men who had devoted their lives to understanding fire, and he helped them see something they'd been missing, and they saw it. Not after years of trying. Right there, in that moment, something became clear that had been invisible before, which means it's possible. Seeing is possible. Recognition is possible. Not as some distant achievement, but as something that can happen right now when we're willing to look differently. When people first hear about these teachings, there's often a misunderstanding. They think, okay, so I need to eliminate desire, stop feeling anger, get rid of all these reactions. And they start fighting with themselves, trying to suppress what they feel, pushing everything away. But that's not what the Buddha taught. Fighting with yourself is just another form of the same pattern. More resistance, more heat. Carl Jung understood this. What you resist persists. When you push something away, you're actually giving it energy. So what's the path? The Buddha described it precisely. When someone sees clearly what's actually happening, something naturally shifts. From clear seeing comes nibbida, disenchantment, or coming out from under the spell. From disenchantment comes viraga, the cooling of passion, the fading of drivenness. And from that cooling comes vimutti, freedom. First step, seeing clearly. Not analyzing, but directly perceiving what's happening in your own experience as it's happening. When you pick up your phone and that image appears, and something tightens in your chest, can you catch that? When someone speaks and irritation flashes, can you notice it arising? Not to judge it or push it away, but just to see it. Second step, disenchantment. Think about watching a magic trick. At first you're amazed. Then someone shows you how it's done. The hidden pocket, the sleight of hand, and suddenly, the magic vanishes. You can still appreciate the skill, but you're no longer fooled. That's what happens when you clearly see these patterns. You see craving arise, and instead of believing it when it says, you need this to be complete, you recognize, oh, that's just a familiar pattern. The spell starts to break. Not because you're fighting it, but because you're seeing it clearly for the first time. Here's a simple image. Imagine you're holding something tightly. It looks golden, precious, but it's not a gem. It's a piece of hot coal. The longer you hold it, the more it burns. Then someone brings light closer. Suddenly you can see, this isn't precious. This is hurting me. Do you need complicated techniques to let go? No, you just open your hand. naturally. Because once you see what you're actually holding, the grip doesn't make sense anymore. That's disenchantment. And from it naturally comes what the Buddha called dispassion. Not coldness, but a cooling where the fever breaks. The driven quality fades. The compulsive energy settles. You can still care, still engage, still feel deeply, but without that consuming quality. So how do you practice this? Simple. When something happens, an image appears, someone speaks, a thought arises. Pause for just 1 second. Ask, what's moving in me right now? Not to judge or fix it, just to know it's there. Then name what you notice. Ah, that's anxiety. That's wanting. That's resistance. Thich Nhat Hanh taught, when you say hello to your anger, it begins to lose its power. You're no longer completely merged with it. There's a little space now. Then just watch. Watch it move. Watch it change. Because here's what you'll discover. Everything that arises also passes. Every emotion, every sensation has what the Buddha called anicca, impermanence. It comes, exists for a while, and fades. When you see this happen in your direct experience, you start trusting something deeper. You stop being so frightened of your own mind. The patterns still arise, but you're not consumed anymore. You're not adding fuel. And without fuel, even the strongest pattern eventually settles. There's a line near the end of the fire sermon that people often overlook. During his utterance, the hearts of those 1,000 monks were liberated from taints through clinging no more. During his utterance, while the Buddha was still speaking, 1,000 people released immediately. Why? Because they saw something. The veil lifted. What had been invisible became visible. And once they could see it clearly, they weren't trapped by it anymore. Freedom wasn't something far away. It was right there in the seeing itself. This is one of the most radical things the Buddha ever taught. We think of awakening as this rare, special state that only extraordinary people reach after decades of effort. We think we have to become someone different, someone wiser, purer, more spiritual. But what if there's nowhere to go? What if freedom isn't a place or a state, but simply the end of confusion? Not gaining something new, but dropping something old. Eckhart Tolle captured this. The moment you realize you're not present, you are present. The instant you notice you've been lost in thought, you're no longer lost. The noticing itself is presence. Many spiritual paths talk about becoming. Become more mindful. Become more compassionate. Become enlightened. But the Buddha's pointing to something different. Stopping. Not becoming anything at all, but stopping the exhausting movement of always trying to become something other than what you are. Here's the deepest paradox. We're being consumed because we're trying not to be consumed. We're suffering because we're trying so hard not to suffer. And the moment we stop that movement, the moment we simply see what is, something shifts. When that constant striving stops, even for a moment, there's a settling. Like water that's been stirred and finally gets to be still. And in that stillness, you can see clearly. And what you see is this. Yes, these patterns arise. But you are not these patterns. You never were. So right now, stop for just a moment. Ask yourself, what's moving in me right now? Maybe it's wanting something. Maybe it's worry. Maybe it's that restless feeling that you should be doing something else, being someone else. Whatever you find, can you feel it? And if there's a lot of heat there, please be gentle with yourself. This isn't about judgment. The kindness itself, the gentleness of simply seeing without condemning, is already the beginning of freedom. The Buddha ended his teaching with these words: "Birth is exhausted. The holy life has been lived out. What can be done is done. Of this, there is no more beyond." These are words from someone who saw clearly, who stopped adding fuel to the patterns, who recognized the peace that was always there. And that seeing, that stopping, it's available now. So as you return to your life, remember, when you feel caught up, when you feel driven, pause, breathe, ask, what's happening right now? Don't judge it. Just see it. Name it gently. The patterns arise, and you are the one who sees. And in that seeing, everything changes.